At dawn on October 27, 2025, the southern lands of Ukraine shook violently. Near the city of Zaporizhia, a Russian armored brigade with 63 tanks, 28 infantry fighting vehicles, along with artillery and supply trucks, advanced like a giant steel serpent along the highway. Explosions thundered one after another, dirt and rocks flew, and Ukraine's forward positions were gradually crushed. The defensive line was collapsing. The region's strategic supply hub, the lifeline of the southern front, was at risk of being seized within hours. In the command bunkers, desperate calls echoed. "We need airstrikes immediately!" About 280 kilometers west of the front line, the Starositian Air Base was cloaked in the pale blue light of early morning. Wisps of fog still covered the runway. The wind carried the scent of jet fuel and gunpowder. Inside the command room, the alarm bell rang. A dry, steady sound, like a countdown to a life or death decision. Outside, engineers and mechanics rushed onto the runway, blinking lights shining against the still silver-gray bodies of aircraft. They were A-10 Thunderbolt IIs, nicknamed Warthogs, ground attack aircraft designed during the Cold War for one purpose only: to destroy tanks. Of the 4 A-10s recently and secretly delivered to Ukraine by the United States, only one was ready for combat at that moment, serial number 780684. On its body, the rough silver paint was still new, but the frame bore the rugged, utilitarian look of an old war machine. A technician walked along the fuselage, checking each rivet, each wing flap. Beneath the aircraft, the massive 7-barreled GAU-8 Avenger 30mm cannon looked like a coiled steel serpent, taking up nearly 1/3 of the plane's length. At the end of the runway, Major Andriy Kovalenko, 38, prepared for his first combat flight in this aircraft. Tall, muscular, with a sunburned face and deep, cold eyes of someone who had seen too much war. He had previously flown Su-25s and survived being shot down over Donetsk. Later, he was selected to train in the United States to transition to the A-10 at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona. 6 weeks of training in the desert, under blazing sun and dry wind, turned him into one of the few Ukrainian pilots who knew every bolt of the Warthog. When the twin TF-34 engines screamed to life, the ground trembled. The 50,000-pound aircraft roared off the runway, heading east toward the rising smoke and fire. 18 minutes later, the battlefield sky appeared. Beneath the A-10's wings stretched a 5-kilometer line of Russian armor. Mullet descended to 8,000 feet, activating the targeting system. A leading T-90M appeared clearly on the display. The A-10 doved. The GAU-8 Avenger cannon roared like thunder. 130 depleted uranium rounds fired in 2 seconds, piercing the roof armor and detonating the ammunition inside. The T-90M exploded, its turret soaring into the sky like a blazing meteor. The Warthog pulled up, turned back, and fired again at 3 BMP-3s. 2 burst into flames. The remaining one was heavily damaged. Within minutes, the Russian formation fell into chaos. Tanks scattered, seeking cover, and anti-aircraft guns opened fire. Streaks of red tracer rounds arced into the sky, but the A-10 kept diving, again and again. The roar of the 30mm cannon became the heartbeat of hell. After 6 attack runs, 11 armored vehicles were destroyed. But Russian air defenses began concentrating their fire. Zu-23-2 guns and Strela-10 missiles launched simultaneously, painting the sky with streaks of light. 3 23mm shells tore through the A-10's left wing. The canopy shattered, shards slicing into the pilot's left arm. The hydraulic system lost pressure, but the aircraft still flew. Unable to approach at low altitude, Mullet climbed to 12,000 feet and switched to AGM-65 Maverick missiles. Each one was fired with cold precision. 1 T-72 exploded, 2 T-90s were annihilated, 3 fuel trucks turned into massive fireballs rising hundreds of meters high. In less than 10 minutes, all 11 Mavericks hit their targets, 11 detonations. When the smoke cleared, the battlefield was littered only with burning wrecks. The A-10 kept circling above, its fuselage riddled with holes, continuing to fire the remaining rounds until the cannon ran dry. The Warthog had been hit 37 times, its wing pierced, the right engine leaking oil, hydraulics down to 40%. Even so, it turned westward. The old warplane landed on the runway amid swirling black smoke, skidding but safely stopping. When the technicians opened the canopy, they found the pilot sitting still, exhausted yet conscious. The A-10, riddled with dozens of bullet holes, had done the unthinkable. It had returned alive from hell. On the ground, the aftermath was clear. Over 40 armored vehicles destroyed, hundreds of Russian soldiers dead or wounded, an entire brigade wiped out. The assault was halted. Ukraine's supply center remained intact. Gun camera footage leaked and spread worldwide, drawing hundreds of millions of views in just 48 hours. 3 weeks later, the A-10 was patched up, 40 kill marks painted beneath the cockpit. Major Kovalenko was awarded the title Hero of Ukraine, but he said only one brief sentence. The A-10 was born to take hits and hit back. I just did what it was built to do. The Battle of Zaporizhzhia entered history as proof of the value of endurance and purposeful design. In an era of stealth aircraft and precision-guided weapons, a 50-year-old plane could still change the course of a battlefield. The A-10 proved that technology never becomes obsolete when used correctly, and by those willing to risk everything. That day, amid Ukraine's fiery skies, old steel triumphed, not only through firepower, but through will and courage. After the resounding victories of the first A-10 and F-16 pilots, Ukrainian airspace entered a new turning point. The war had become a contest not only of resolve, but of technology, where every steel wing could redraw the map of the front. Amid the fierce battles in the south, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense announced a bold plan to expand its fighter fleet with new generation Western aircraft, including the JS-39 Gripen, the predator of the Nordic skies. In Kyiv, Deputy Defense Minister Ivan Havriulyuk appeared at a press conference on September 29, his voice calm but his eyes sharp as steel. He confirmed that Ukraine would soon receive additional F-16s, Mirages, and, for the first time, Swedish-made Gripens. When asked about numbers and delivery dates, he simply replied, "You'll know when you see them in the sky." That statement spread across social media and news outlets, becoming an unspoken declaration of the Ukrainian Air Force. The sky belongs to those who dare to hold it. Meanwhile, Sweden maintained a careful silence. Johan Helmstrand, spokesperson for the Ministry of Defense, said Stockholm and Kyiv were still negotiating. Although there was no new information to announce, many military sources confirmed that talks had entered the technical stage: pilot training, radar module transfer, and NATO weapons integration. Compared to the A-10 Warthog, an old, heavy, but fearsome ground attacker, the Gripen JAS-39 represents speed and agility. Designed for modern warfare, the Gripen can take off from short runways, operate independently under electronic suppression, and be rearmed and refueled by a small crew in under 15 minutes. In Ukraine's tactical command rooms, Air Force officers are redrawing the aerial combat model. Gripens will coordinate with F-16s and Mirages to dominate the southern skies, while supporting ground troops in battles like Zaporizhia 2025, where A-10s once forged legends. With long-range radar, advanced air-to-air missiles, and NATO standard data sharing, the Gripen is seen as a mobile eye of the heavens, filling a critical gap in Ukraine's defenses. While the smoke of Zaporizhia still clouds the sky, the war opens another front, the Black Sea. Ukraine has just unveiled an upgraded version of the Sea Baby unmanned surface vehicle, the same weapon that once forced the Russian fleet deep into port. The new model, developed by the Security Service of Ukraine (SBU), boasts over 1,500 kilometers range and a 2-ton payload, double the previous generation. At a secret demonstration, the Sea Baby raced across the water like a black arrow, remotely controlled with live video feed. One model was equipped with a stabilized automatic machine gun and AI target recognition. Another carried a BM-21 Grad rocket launcher, turning it into an unmanned gunboat. Both featured self-destruct mechanisms to prevent capture. General Ivan Lukashevich stated that the Sea Baby was not just a suicide weapon, but a reusable asset, paving the way for a flexible, low-cost, yet deadly drone fleet. With its extended range, the Sea Baby could strike as far as the Caucasus coast, transforming the Black Sea into a battlefield of invisible machines. As the A-10 and Gripen rule the skies, and the Sea Baby now commands the waters, a new era of automated warfare has dawned, where humans guide from afar and technology reigns supreme.